Hello, good morning to everybody. This is Susana from Zavala Innovation Consulting. Welcome to this webinar in the frame of the European Sustainable Energy Week. We are very proud to participate in this event and this initiative organized by the European Commission with the Red Bill project, which is a project funded by the Horizon 2020 program. So we are going to speak about a hot topic at this moment. We are focusing the building sector and also in the innovation of the building sector. So Sustainable Development Goals, Agenda 2030 and Green Deal are one of the most important challenges for all the European sectors, but especially for this, because we are very focused on the innovation, as I have mentioned before. And we had very relevant speakers. I think that we had a high-level panel for this event. So we are very proud to have with us representatives of organizations as Foretica, the Architects Council of Europe, Placo Saint-Gobain, also the Confederation of the European Builders, and the representatives of very special neighbors associations from Madrid, from the Spanish capital, that I'm going to share with us their experience and good practices focused on the Sustainable Development Goals and the relation with the building sector. So we are going to start because we are going to offer this general overview. Just mention to the attendees of the session that, as you know, you have your microphones in silence and your cameras, but you can participate in any moment with your questions in the chat. After the intervention of the speaker, we are going to share these questions. If we don't have time for everybody, you can send an email to us and we will be in contact with the speakers to personally answer these questions. We are going to also send an email with all the presentations and the video of the session. So we are going to start right now. The first speaker is Elena Reed, who is the international representative of the project Foretica, organization that tried to establish bridge among public, private sector, interrace or social corporate responsibility in organization, and also member of TSR Europe. So Elena, it's your turn. Would you like to share your presentation, or I can do?
Yeah, please, if you can do it, I do appreciate it. So first of all, thank you for inviting us. Thank you, Zavala. It's my pleasure to be part of this webinar. So I think the first thing we have to do before start is trying to reframe the Sustainable Development Goals. My intervention is going to to talk about the Sustainable Development Goals and how can so you can put it in full screen. Okay, so
one moment, I am going to share. Yeah, can you see the screen right now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. You have the control, eh?
Okay, thank you. So yeah, the title of this webinar is Efficient Buildings and Houses, Partnering for SDGs and European Green Deal. So the first thing we have to do is to talk about the Sustainable Development Goals as the roadmap we have for a sustainable world. First of all, I would like to just to tell you who we are. Foretica is a sustainability and CSR multi-stakeholder platform. We help and we support our members to integrate social, environmental, and governance aspects, not only in the strategy, but also in the management. We are the Spanish partner of the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, and we work also with CSR Europe, and we work not only in Spain, but also in South America with very key allies like the Inter-American Development Bank. So we work with big companies from different sectors. You can see some of our members, but our main target is big companies, but we also work with governments, because more than ever, I think it's important to create platforms to encourage public and private partnerships. So we have been working, of course, with SDGs since 2015, and we work with our members from different perspectives. First of all, we try to translate the sustainability challenges into the CEO's language, trying to encourage CEOs, boards to commit with sustainable development goals. But we work also with giving technical support to our members, trying to understand why we need to implement sustainable development goals and where are the business case of sustainability for business. And we also work creating knowledge and analyze how the agenda, how the sustainable development goals are being implemented since 2015. So each year since 2016, we have been publishing a paper trying to analyze how we are moving towards this agenda. So now we are working on the next one. We will launch the next report in September, trying to analyze how COVID-19 has impacted the Sustainable Development Goals. So I think we all know we all know the Sustainable Development Goals. The main objective is to put all the stakeholders together around the most important challenges in terms of sustainable development. We have 17 challenges, 179 targets, and 244 indicators. And now I think we are in a very important moment, because we are starting the decade of action. I think we all realize that we need to move faster and to raise the ambition, because I think we all know that we are not moving in the speed we need to meet the Sustainable Development Goals in 2030. So I think one of the most interesting things of the Sustainable Development Goals is the holistic approach to sustainable development implies. So I think this agenda puts us in a different way to understand the sustainable development. In the base of pyramid, we have the biosphere. I think we all realize that nature is the most important thing we have, and it's the base of everything. It's the base of a healthy society, prosperous economy, and we need to make this framework always trying to create a impactful partnership. And I think other interesting thing of Sustainable Development Goals is that they are not new. I mean, if we overlap the Sustainable Development Goals with the risk map of the World Economic Forum, we can see that we are talking about the same challenges. But what is interesting about the Sustainable Development Goals is that they create a framework with targets and indicators to guide us to move towards and to give an answer to these challenges. So I think this is very interesting to see how since 2015 we are facing the same challenges seen from different perspectives. Sorry, this is not. Sorry. So what is the global status? Well, I think we all know that none of the SDGs will be reached in all regions according to the indicators we have so far. And this is quite impressive because one of the most important SDGs, for example, climate action or the SDG 12 or others, are very far from being achieved in 2030. So I think we have a special concern in terms of inequality, sustainable production and consumption, and climate change and ocean, as I told you. And I think this concern is bigger after this crisis we are facing, because all the challenges are getting worse in some aspects. So we have more than ever to raise the ambition. And what about Europe? I think, sorry, I think Europe, if we compare how we are advancing in Europe compared to other regions in the world, of course, we are moving faster than Asia, Africa, or other regions, but we have also a big roadmap ahead, because as you can see in this slide, we have done a significant progress in some SDGs, like SDG 16, SDG 1, SDG 3, SDG 8 to 11. But we are having a moderate backwards in some aspects, like SDG 15, SDG 13, climate action. So I think we have a lot of motivations to change the way we are doing things, and to raise ambition, because the indicators are telling us that we have to move faster. But we have some good news. I think this year started with something like Ursula von der Leyen said, like a man on the moon moment, and I think it is. I think the European Green Deal is the answer to all these challenging context we have. I think the European Green Deal is the ambition we need, and with objectives like being climate neutral in 2050, and not only and it's not only focused on climate change, but I think this is the example of holistic approach of sustainable development, because we will not be climate neutral in 2050 if we don't move from a linear to a circular economy, of if we are not more if we don't protect the capital, the natural capital. So I think this is the example that everything is connected. So this is good news, because every action on every project can have multiple or diverse positive impact. And I think the new circular economy action plan is a perfect roadmap. Construction and building is one of the sector that is considered in this new action plan. And why? I think this is one of the most impactful sector, and at the same time is one of the sector that can be more circularized. I highlight some facts that construction and building sector requires a vast amount of resources. About the 50% of all extracted material is responsible for over the 35% of EU's total waste generation, which is huge. And buildings are responsible for the 50% of our energy consumption and the 36% of the greenhouse gas emission. So I think we have a business case to become or to transform the construction and building sector in a more sustainable sector. And in 2021, the Commission has committed to launch a strategy for a sustainable built environment. So I think we have a very ambitious agenda ahead. So I think this is a very good news. And in Spain, early this month, we knew our circular economy strategy, and the construction sector is also one of the sectors that this strategy considers to become Spain a more circular country. And why this sector is important? I think, as we said, as I said before, the holistic approach of sustainable development is a reality if we consider green building houses, because this sector can provide the building blocks towards meeting several SDGs. I think this picture is quite visual, because this sector can impact in health and well-being. It can impact to energy, job creation, innovation, resilience, communication and cities, communities and cities, resource efficiency, climate change, natural capital, and of course, is an example of partnership. And finally, I would like to finish my presentation showing you what we are doing in a circular economy. In circular economy, 3 years ago, we launched the Circular Economy Business Action Group with three objectives: promoting knowledge, collaborating between relevant stakeholders, especially the government, and visibility and visualize what our members were doing. I think it's interesting because, as you can see, we have a representation of different sectors within building materials and solution, and construction and buildings. And I think all the main sector represented in all the frameworks, not only at European scale but also in Spain, are represented in this group. We started working on the business case of circular economy to understand where are the business opportunities in the transition from a linear to a circular economy. The second year, we work on how to measure circularity, because this is one of the key, one of the challenge we are facing to understand how circular we are. And this year, we are working and we are supporting our members on how to move towards a new plastic economy. So we are witnessing how the building and construction sector is moving towards a sustainable development. So I think, we are in a very special moment, and we are seeing how innovation, research, and other activities are growing more and more. So so thank you. This is my this is my everything from my side.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Elena. I think that you have offered a very interesting general overview. And you have mentioned some interesting points also about the new business models that we can generate in the sector and the power of transforming the society. I think with the building sector is key for the climate policies because we have a very high consumption of energy, almost the 40% of the current consumption in the European Union. Now, speaking about the transformation of society, I think that Veronica Esruefa from the Architects Council of Europe can offer also a very interesting point of view, because the architects are a very important part of this transformation. So, Veronica, if you agree, I am going to give you the control to start with your presentation.
Okay, thank you, Susanna.
Okay.
Are you putting the presentation on, or should I just share my screen?
Yes, it's possible for me. So, just let me one moment. Can you see right now your presentation, Veronica?
Yeah, and I can move my mouse. Can I just make it in full screen? It's a little. No, can I? How can I make it in full? This one? No. Can you make it in presentation mode?
I am going to share the whole screen. Right now.
Yeah, much better.
Thank you.
Okay, so I can change the slides. Yeah, okay. So thank you very much, Susanna, for inviting me to this webinar today. I'm Veronika Schopfer, and I'm working for the Architects Council of Europe. Of course, I also have some slides about us, so everybody knows who's talking. So the Architects Council of Europe is the European umbrella organization representing all architects, all European architects, as a matter of fact. So we are around about 600,000 architects in Europe. And the way it works is an architect is a member of their national chamber, and these national chambers are our member organizations. Can I click on it, or how do I do it? How do I change the slide? Oh, yeah, down there. Does it work? Technology.
Use your mouse, Veronica.
So I click down there, no? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So basically, we are here to represent the interests of the architects towards the EU institutions. We very much fight for a higher educational and professional standards of architects. So we're also looking at the architectural education at universities. We look at the mobility within the European countries. So if you are an architect graduating from Poland and you want to work in Spain, then we are there and try to make this work. And of course, we're looking at the architectural quality of the built environment, and as such support the sustainable development of the built environment. So this is where the sustainable development goals come in. Now I'm trying to change the slide again. Yeah. So when we look at the sustainable development goals, we think there are 5 that are most touched by architecture, but later on in my presentation you will see that actually we touch all 17 of them. We're with our work, so we have different working groups. We have a working group on environmental and sustainable architecture who focus on the SDGs. They focus mainly on these 5. They focus on the good health and well-being, obviously because people spend most of their days inside buildings, so the architecture of the building can influence this and does. We are also looking at the adaptation of buildings to clean energy, because you can of course implement renewable energy onto your building, into your building. We are part of industry, and infrastructure is with urban design also part of our work. And of course, sustainable cities and communities is a major part in architecture. And then last but not least, we look at climate action. But as I said, later on, you will see that actually all sustainable development goals are touched by architecture. So we have developed a policy position on the architect's contribution to the SDGs, and basically we start by saying the point that we have looked at only on the energy performance of building and how to renovate buildings towards more efficient energy use was a mistake. It was a too small focus, and in the end we end up with a lot of consequences that we didn't want to have. Yeah, so we looked at how we can quickly insulate the building stock of Europe without thinking about the embodied energy of the insulation materials, without looking at how we attach these materials to our buildings, how long will these materials live, how long will the attachment of the material to the building live, and what on earth are we going to do with all this insulation material afterwards. So this is just as an example of how we try to use less energy in Europe and the mistake that we did. we very much argue that we have to look at the entire life cycle of buildings and all of the components, and also see the social and economic and environmental value as a package deal altogether. So that means that we are not looking at insulating everything, but we have to really look at how can we make it work for everyone in a sustainable community. And also one of the issues that we encountered in the last decades was the performance gap. So the so-called performance gap. So the idea of simulating before a renovation how your building is going to perform afterwards, and then in the end it didn't perform like this, and then we were all standing there and thinking like, oh my god, what happened? And we have of course various sources of this problem, like the simulation tools didn't really work, or we didn't factor in the occupant, because an occupant of a renovated building maybe changes the behavior, so the occupational behavior, and of course then what's happening during construction. So really to look at the buildings and to measure them, how they perform afterwards, but not only in an energy kind of way. I tried to change the slide, yeah. So we also, of course, argue for the consumption of natural resources. So really looking at the whole life cycle of every single component of the building, and looking not only on energy, but on the water, on the materials, but on the planet. Like we have to really look at everything, and then of course afterwards at the on the waste. So we have to design in a circular way, and the architect is super well equipped to do that. From the beginning, to design every connection of every material and how we then can deconnect it in the end. And when we look at the SDG on the health, then it's really important to look at the indoor environmental quality as well, and that is not only the air, but it's and the thermal comfort. That is also about daylight, that is about window openings, that is about acoustics, that is physical mass of buildings, that influence the occupant's health. And these are all things that an architect can factor in from the beginning. And then last but not least, we have to make sure that we're not looking only at the building scale, but at the whole neighborhood scale, at the whole communities. And we have to look that buildings can not only mitigate climate change, because I think we all know that climate change is already happening. So we have to make our environment able to adapt to it, and to be resilient to it. So to have buildings that can survive a flood or a heat wave, and these ideas. And then of course the aesthetic upgrades. I mean, of course, architect's designed building is something very beautiful to live in. I mean, no one wants to live in an engineered building, I guess. That's at least my position, because then an architect makes the aesthetic wonderful, in addition to all the overall functional things that we can do. And there are a lot of architectural solutions that we can prefer over technological ones. And this is also something that we can see, unfortunately, in a lot of EU funding calls, that they prefer technological solutions, but there is a step how far we can go with passive solutions, how far we can go with low-tech solutions, and then we can add the technology on top of this. But if we already go a very, very far step with a low-tech solution, then we don't have maintenance, we don't have human error, we have far less costs and longer lifespans. So just thinking about a building, the ice cream, for example. Ice cream was invented in the Middle East, and it was, I'm not naming a country because then maybe Google says a different country, but it was possible by the simple architecture of a building to create ice cream. There is no technology in it. Like the original ice cream dates back thousands or hundreds of years, and it was just a passive solution. And we have to remember what architectural solutions we had in the past and see how we can continue this in the future before we look at the technology part. And this is actually already me talking about policy, because now I have just wonderful solutions, architectural solutions that address the SDGs. They come from this publication from the International Union of Architects, which was published together with our member organization from Denmark. So it's I can very much recommend this publication. And it shows architectural solutions for all SDGs. And so I will not show 17, I just show a few due to the time. But for example, this is a solution for an urban farming model. So of course, very beautiful. This is a solution for the SDG number 3 for good health and well-being. This is a renovation of an urban space where they just put a sports center on top of a building, a public available sports court. This is for gender equality. This is an orphanage and on the side a women's, let's say, sanctuary that was built there. This is a way to collect water from mist in the nighttime and in the mornings in Africa. It was a very nice architectural solution. Yeah. This is an inner city park that is there to adapt to climate change. So not only a green lung, but also to collect water from flooding and so on. And this is a building that allows to look at animals in a Norwegian reindeer center in a nature reserve. So you can just sit there in front of the fire and look at the reindeers. And of course, when we look also at here SDG 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions, of course, nobody has in mind architecture or the built environment, but actually peace and justice is happening inside a building. And if you have a good designed building with a good architectural concept, then maybe this is supporting peace and justice. I mean, we hope so. And then, of course, there are buildings are not only there for to fulfill one SDG. Like here we have an example from Denmark that is actually looking at 3 different SDGs, and this is a health center. And there, for example, they found out afterwards that so it's like a psychological healthcare center. And the forced fixation was reduced by 69%, and by 61% they could reduce the use of tranquilizers just by having this kind of designed architectural building. Or this one is a sports facility, and we have 7 SDGs that are positively influenced by this architecture. And of course, here they say it's carbon neutral and 80% reduction of life cycle costs. So, and with this, I would already like to
Thank you, Veronica. You have offered very impressive examples of the architecture and sustainable development goals, how it can work. But also you have mentioned important points and pillars of the Green Deal as the circular economy, the new materials, also the local perspective. The technological solutions are important, but have to be complementary with other kind of solutions, of course. So I think that is a very complete overview also. To speak about new materials and solutions and also the circular economy, we have other of our speakers, who is Alfonso Pescador from Placo Saint-Gobain. As you know, Saint-Gobain is a big company of the industry, and they are partners for the Roadbuild project, so they can speak a little bit about what is doing the Roadbuild project and how they are implementing this kind of solution. So I'm going to pass you the word, Alfonso. Would you like to do a presentation, or I can share if you want it?
You can share, and I will pass the slides if you want.
Okay, just one moment in this case. Let me check one moment because I have to close the presentation, Veronica.
Next. Yes.
It's yours. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that you have the control of the mouse right now. So you can.
Let's try. No, it doesn't work. The mouse. Well, you can pass the slides if you prefer, because I cannot pass them.
You can do it right now, Alfonso.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Hello, good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank to Zabala for inviting us to this conference, and also to thank to all attendees. My name is Alfonso, and I'm Senior R&D Project Manager from Saint-Gobain Placo in Spain, which belongs to the Gypsum Construction Materials Division inside the Saint-Gobain Group. Okay, well, let's go directly to the chat. Okay, let me introduce you briefly the Saint-Gobain Group. Okay, sorry. Saint-Gobain is a French company which designs, manufactures, and distributes building materials and solutions. We are focused to provide comfort to all of us in our houses and offices, while at the same time address the climate change challenge. If you have a look at the following figures, you will see it is a major company worldwide with over 170,000 employees from over 100 different nationalities. It was founded quite some time ago in 1665, being currently one of the oldest companies of such dimensions in the world. Okay. Saint-Gobain core business is construction materials. The company has all phases integrated, from the design of innovative and customer-tailored materials to manufacture them under our world-class manufacturing excellence program, and distributing them to thousands of warehouses and retailers across the world. This integration makes us to be close to the different customers in the value chain and react faster to any of its demands. Saint-Gobain Placo is one of the partners of the RESBuild project. The RESBuild project is an H2020 EU-funded project which aims to define a collaborative refurbishment ecosystem of materials and methodologies for achieving near-zero energy buildings. The project targets are achieving at least 60% of primary energy reduction, in 30% less refurbishing time when compared to the traditional methods, and having less than 12 years of payback by choosing the best retrofitting package. The consortium is composed by 14 companies or institutions from 5 countries. We have as well 3 demonstrator houses of varied typologies and climatic zones, which will be used to test and validate the results obtained within the project. Saint-Gobain Placo contribution to the project is to develop 3 different gypsum-based products, which are intended to substitute current non-sustainable materials and solutions by greener ones based on gypsum with no performance decrement. First product is a gypsum spray plaster designed to achieve PHFAUS-like airtightness performance. it has been specifically formulated to avoid cracking even when applied in thin layers and in very absorbing substrates. One of the main benefits is that it is very fast to apply, and 2 people can finish a full house in just 1 working day. Another point is that this product can also be applied by traditional plasterers using standard gypsum spraying machines. In Spain, plaster is a declining profession due to the increasing demand of more innovative dry building methods which they don't master. Currently, it is composed mainly of people close to their retirement, and we think this product that fills a complete different market niche can help to increase their demand and extend their working life. At the bottom of the slide, you can find several pictures showing the effect of a cold air stream infiltration before the application of this earthiness gypsum and how it disappears after the spraying. Second product is an insulating spray plaster intended to be applied in thick layers. In the bottom left chart, you can see the thermal conductivity improvement of the base gypsum once added different lightweight materials. The best performer additive was an aerogel, but due to the high aerogel cost, this product is currently non-competitive when compared to other traditional insulating materials. But we expect that in a middle term, its price will drop. So by that moment, this product could become competitive. Final product is not really a product, but a system. It is a gypsum-based cladding facade for external insulation. Using gypsum outdoors is quite uncommon, but we have developed a gypsum board that can withstand environmental wear. This versatile system has great performance, not only in thermal, but also in fire and acoustics. It can be configured with or without ventilated camera and can be finished with almost any material, from the simplest mortar and paint to the most advanced ceramics, metals, or even solar panels. Apart from designing, manufacturing, and delivering products that help construction companies and people to fight against climate change, Saint-Gobain itself has a strong commitment with the sustainable development. As I told you before, Saint-Gobain has a long history in its back, and long-term vision and sustainable business is part of our DNA. Our principles and values are compiled in what we call 5 principles of conduct, which are professional commitment, respect for others, integrity, loyalty, and solidarity, and 4 principles of action, which are respect for the law, care for the environment, workers' health, and employee rights. You can see that these principles are clearly aligned with the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals that are deployed from the top management to all of us, aligning all of our activities in the group. The care for the environment principle of action impulses all companies' activities regarding carbon emissions. The group has the commitment to be carbon neutral by 2050. Top management is directly involved in charge of these targets, and our CEO drives personally this compromise, as shown in his book, Our Fight for the Climate, written in French and available through Amazon. We, as Placo, are specialized on gypsum products. Gypsum is the perfect example for circularity, as it can be infinitely recycled without affecting its performance, as well as having other very interesting properties as a building material. Gypsum comes from the land, and as you can see from the bottom left picture, when our quarries reach its end of life, they are restored and landscape recovers its former appearance and life. If I ask you what is greener, for example, insulating a house using mineral wool or with sheep's wool, perhaps many of you think that sheep's wool is greener, but the proper answer is that should be whatever shows better results in the EPD declaration, in the Environmental Product Declaration. Because one thing is looking green and a different thing is being green. Placo products have third-party audited EPDs, and ISO 14006 eco-design standard guides the R&D activities to achieve lower and lower impact in our new or revamped products. But we have not only EPDs for products, but also for facades systems, even including the RESVIL one. And finally, following Veronica's presentation, We're very proud to have the first full house in Spain and the second worldwide, which is EPD certified. And that's the end of my speech. Hope you have enjoyed it, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Alfonso. Very interesting. Also, it's a good example of how a big company is making a strong commitment for sustainability. So, yeah, very good example of that. And now we have with us also Fernando Tsitzos Jimenez, who is the communication manager of the European Builders Confederation, which represents the small and medium companies of the sector. And I suppose that you are working also on the innovation of your companies. We are going to see how you are also facing the COVID crisis, which is having an impact on the sector, obviously. But also, I think that is accelerating some processes as innovation and digitalization, I suppose. So, Fernando, we are going to start with your presentation. I can share the screen if you want it. Just one moment to change the PowerPoint. So I am going to give you the control of the mouse also, so you can start. Fernando, can you speak? Maybe you are in silence. Let me check. Can you speak, Fernando? No, we can't hear you.
But he's muted. Maybe if you unmute him.
Yes, I can. You can speak right. Sorry.
Here you go. Thank you very much for that. The only thing is that I can't see the presentation myself, so I don't have it on my screen right now.
I served your presentation, Fernando.
Yeah.
And I give you the control of the mouse.
But my presentation is not appearing.
Can you see the
result? We cannot see. No, it's not there.
Ah, okay, I know why. Now it's possible, I think. Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Thank you.
There we go. Let me check if.
It's the last one that I read, it's Fernando.
Yeah, thank you very much. Can I get the control now to go through the slides?
Yes, you have the control, I think. Yeah. You can start.
Is it? Okay. So, hello everyone. My name is Fernando Tsitzos. I'm indeed not only the communication manager, but also the European project manager of the European Builders Confederation. The European
I'm sorry.
No worries. The European Builders Confederation is indeed the European organization representing construction crafts and SMEs at the European level. Let me check if this works. It seemed to work a minute ago. It doesn't seem to work now. Okay. I can't go through my slides. I don't know if you can help me with that, Susanna.
Now it's possible? I don't know.
No, not really.
Now?
Let me have another try. The mouse button is not activated, so I guess it's not operational.
I don't know why, because apparently you had the control. Can you try again? And if not, I can pass the slides for you if you want it.
Yeah,
no
I'll try make a last attempt. There you go. Nope, it doesn't work. So if you don't mind, Please go to my slides.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't want to make a broader presentation of EBC, but as I said, we represent exclusively crafts and SMEs, and keep in mind that in the construction sector, we have around 99% of the companies in the industry that are SMEs. Going directly to the SDGs. So I was asked to make a presentation about the impact or the influence of the SDGs in the construction sector, as well as COVID-19. I will do both, and starting with the SDGs, of course, we all already had presentations on this. Indeed, there are several SDGs, number 9, number 11, that are directly linked to our sector, but we do consider that our impact in the SDGs talks is way broader than the one we think of. Indeed, of course, everything related to energy, environment are now very trendy. COVID-19 was an imposition, let's say, somehow, but we also cover other topics, and it might surprise you. Our SMEs are very, very, very worried about the little participation of women in the construction industry. Next slide, please. So the Sustainable Development Goals. I wouldn't dare to call it an impact, but we call it an influence of the SDGs conversation since 2015 on our sector. We feel now that the narrative in the last years has changed. We're talking about a greener narrative. Now we're talking about sustainable construction, sustainable buildings, digital construction. And these talks have culminated, of course, in Europe with the European Union political reorientation with the Green Deal, which offers not only new financial funding perspectives, but has a very strong focus on sustainability and digitalization that we should, in our sector, explore. In that context, let's say older partnerships have been revitalized. There are new partnerships that I will present later. I will start with the Construction 2050 Alliance, which was officially launched a few weeks ago, which is an unprecedented initiative gathering 47 construction representatives at the European level in order to speak with a single voice in the European debates. I will tell you more about that in a few slides. Also, I'd like to mention ECREDI, and we're very lucky to have with us the Vice President of ECREDI, Veronica, from ACE, the Council of Architects that was with us, which in a nutshell is a platform to work on the research and innovation priorities in the construction sector. I will make it very short, Veronica. If you need to intervene, no worries. Later, the floor is yours. Also, with this new kind of collaboration between construction representatives, I'm talking companies, trade unions, manufacturers, architects, we have been able to have a few strong positioning forward, related also, of course, to the SDGs and to COVID-19. Last year, we had a declaration on circular economy with standardization organization and environmental ones. Recently, an appeal for a rapid and sustainable recovery related to COVID-19. COVID-19, the declaration on the impact. And then it's a big, I think, my presentation is broad in the sense that all those are a bit connected. And a last partnership that is quite recent is the Build for People initiative, which is a public-private partnership between the European Commission and construction stakeholders to define the priorities, again, on research and innovation in the EU-funded programs. Next slide, please. So about this new greener narrative, this political reorientation, there is, of course, the Green Deal. I'll invite you to have a read for details to our article in the British magazine Planning, Building, Construction Today, published a few months ago when the Green Deal was announced. I don't want to sound pessimistic, But our take is that, of course, the Green Deal is a major step. It's a major milestone. We fully endorse the overarching objective of climate neutral Europe. We're very happy to see that circular economy and buildings renovation are flagship elements. And of course, we identify as well initiatives that are of interest for the sector. But still, as it is a process that is ongoing, our SMEs are, let's say, very reality-minded in the sense that we still need to transform all that communication into concrete initiatives. So we have identified them, but let's wait and see how this goes. Next slide. Related to the Green Deal, related to the SDGs influence, a point on decarbonization. It was already mentioned. Construction is 40% of the EU energy consumption, 36% of the CO2 emissions. That's for sure. That's why decarbonization is also one of the major points of this newly launched Construction 2050 Alliance. We do consider, first of all, that all these topics related to climate environment will all be dealt with if there are proper and deep collaboration between the construction stakeholders. We do consider that, of course, those figures are worrying, but it also means that there is a lot of room for maneuver regarding energy efficiency and circular economy and renewables in our sector. So I'll invite you to actually have a look at the very short concept paper on the Construction 2050 Alliance for details again. But we do consider that with the mention of new ambitions regarding renovation rates, the Commission said at least double them. With that, we will, of course, lower energy consumption and thus reduce greenhouse gases, and in the end, have a contribution to the Paris Agreement and SDG goals, a concrete contribution of the construction sector. But there we go. Room for maneuver, we will work on that as well. Next one, please. Regarding circular economy, again, we know that construction sector represents around 30% of the total waste generated in the European Union. Very worrying, but we're very aware of this as well. That's why our SMEs are very committed to dig further into the circular economy. A few months ago, we collaborated with standardization organizations, environmental organizations to put forward a declaration, Construction in the Circular Economy, because we know that circular economy is very trendy today. But again, we need something concrete. On the construction sites around Europe, circular economy is not the rule yet. It's very difficult to implement. That's why in that declaration, we consider that the first step is to promote sustainable construction, sustainable buildings. But to do that, we need to develop a market for recycled and reused products. A few issues there. Two of the major ones, according to us, are the liability related to the use of recycled reused products, and of course the performance of those ones. Saint-Gobain showed clear examples that it is possible to have liable and highly performing products, but still those are not the ones that are accessible, let's say, on a broad, in a broad sense to our companies. Of course, there are activities, best practices around Europe, and we should build upon them. That's why we proposed a few months ago the establishment of a multi-stakeholders experts platform, because circular economy needs proper debate. Next slide, please. Now I'm going to talk about the COVID-19 impact. Today, it's too early to have a proper, let's say, a proper assessment of its impact. But of course, we already notice very clear situations in Europe. The first of those is the activity drop. For sure, short term, long term. It's not only us saying that, it's also the European Commission noticing that. It's a fact. Eurostat, the European, I don't know if agency or body that is in charge of statistics for the European Commission, already published in May 2020 that the production in the construction industry in the whole European Union decreased by 12% compared to by February. February, at least in Belgium, where I'm based, February is a month before the lockdown started, thus in March. According to Eurostat, the major drops in production were in Italy and France. What we also did as a European organization is, of course, to consult our national members. And the take that we have there is for them to ask their members, which are the companies, to ask them if they were reaching to the governmental or other kind of help to face the COVID-19 situation at the national level. Because if they were asking for help, it meant that they were impacted. So those figures here you have only the example from Slovenia. Our member in Slovenia told us that 97% of their companies were looking for help at the governmental level or through national chambers. In Italy, we also had one of our Italian members also told us that 70% of their construction companies reached to the government for help. But this figure that is a bit lower than in Slovenia is a bit misleading, because this survey was taken by the end of April, early May, and a few companies already were closed down because of the COVID-19 situation. Another impact is about the health and safety costs. Our French member has launched a study to estimate the additional costs related to health measures, and the findings are quite clear. We will have an increase of between 10 and 20% in the daily cost for a construction company to operate. Then a third impact is about the equity losses, the loss of capital. According to European Commission, construction is after tourism the most affected sector regarding equity losses. They do consider that between 113 and 188 billion euros will be lost in the construction sector. Next slide, please. What can we do about it? So talks are really ongoing. They're very fresh, of course, but our first analysis has shown us that the European Commission is talking about a substantial amount in the EU budget proposals, with a focus on green and digital transition. Of course, for the moment, there is no specific sector targeted, but we do consider that for the recovery, post-COVID-19 recovery, there is room for maneuver, for member states to find funding to help the construction sector. What we say is that the built environment can be prioritized. It should, actually. The construction sector needs, even before COVID-19 impact, huge investments regarding basic, let's say, processing, but also for the green transition. We are optimistic in the sense that we now see, with the talks about the Green Deal, with the talks about the EU budget, the post-COVID-19 discussions, that the construction sector has openings in order to get help, let's say, because there is, what I already said, this intention from the European Commission to double the annual renovation rate. There are clear references to energy efficiency, to transport infrastructure, social infrastructure, and so on and so forth. So we do think that the COVID-19 was harsh, extremely harsh. We don't know everything about it, but there are already open doors to better the situation in the European countries. Next slide, please. In that sense, what we have been doing is, of course, collaborating again with other construction partners, the European Commission, a few declarations. I already mentioned one of them about the COVID-19 impact, but we were also in high-level talks with the European Commission in order to assess the amount that is needed for the construction sector, in order to help the European Commission to define what help is required. It should be, let's say, benchmark or refer for the construction sector in EU budget talks. We have a few proposals for the European Commission, and also what we are going to do with the Construction 2050 Alliance. We need to, in a nutshell, the idea is really to identify all the openings in order to prioritize the construction sector in the talks regarding, let's say, the post-COVID-19 recovery plan. Next slide. And so I mentioned it a few times, Construction 2050, and I would like to end on this because my presentation was a bit, let's say, maybe confused because it mixes a lot of different topics. But in the end, what I wanted to say is that the influence of the SDGs, the impact of the Green Deal, the impact of COVID-19 are all topics that will be covered in the construction industry at the European level, not only on an individual basis, let's say EBC on their side, the European Council of Architects on their side, but also in a collaborative way. And that's really important to us because those issues, those topics are so broad that we won't be able to make the most of them or to solve them if we don't cooperate. Here you have the Work Program 2020-2021 of this new Construction 2050 Alliance, and as you can see, all of them are directly related to what I call the influence of the SDGs, the importance of the Green Deal, and the impact of COVID-19. The first one being, of course, work together to find a solution to Europe's recovery after COVID-19. Second, how should the built environment contribute to the Green Deal, and the other way around? The Green Deal should give a lot of importance to the built environment. Third, the human factor in construction. Here, I'm very sorry to see only safety, but it's health and safety, skills and sectors image related to the human factor in construction. Then the three other priorities for the Alliance are less related to what we're discussing now, but okay, this is the message. We are going to work on that. There is room to collaborate on this, and I'm very happy to see these connections between here Saint-Gobain or friends of the architects or friends of Foretica, that there is a real awareness now that we need to tackle all our issues in a greener way, but also that we need to tackle them in a more collaborative way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fernando. Yeah, I think that the perspectives of your organization is really interesting. You have been facing difficulties in these times about the security of workers. Also, you have were very easy, and you are supporting small and medium companies that don't have the same resources that big companies. Is logical. So it's impressive also how you are react so fast and how you are collaborating in so many initiatives. So I suppose that the sector is going to be very well considered by the European Commission with the Green Deal also and the other initiatives, of course. Yeah, from the economic perspective with new business models and the circular economy of materials, so it's not easy, as you have explained. Also from the environment perspective, that is necessary to reduce the energy consumption. It's also something that is going to reduce the cost, of course. The social perspective, we have to think about the comfort of the citizens, about the empowerment of the citizens in the energy transition. So now we are going to have also this perspective with the intervention of our colleagues from the Orcasitas Neighborhoods Association from Madrid. We had the pleasure to stay with Bonifacio Feliz López Rey, who has an historic intervention in the associated movements of Madrid. He is with Eloy, and they are going to offer their point of view from the public participation perspective. So I am going also to share your presentation. It is possible for me. Bonifacio, you are ready? Okay. So let me, because we are having okay. So let me know if you can see now your presentation. Maybe now, can you see the presentation right now?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to try to give you the control to manage the slide. Let me know if this is possible for you. Can you control the slides? Eloy, can you hear me?
They are muted.
Okay. Can you
Okay.
speak right now?
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I need the control of the slides, if it's possible.
Yeah, I think that you have the control now. Check, is this possible?
Okay, it's good.
Yes, you can do it. Perfect.
Okay, I present you Felix Lopez Rey is the leadership of the social movement in Orcasitas neighborhood in the south of Madrid. He's speaking Spanish and I try to translate his words into English. Please, Felix.
Hola, buenos días a todas y a todos. Muchas gracias por darnos la oportunidad desde el sur de Madrid, desde un barrio periférico, contaros una experiencia de 50 años que he vivido. Llegué a este barrio con 8 años y ya soy abuelo.
Thank you for the invitation to participate in this meeting. He is Felix Lopez Rey. He was one of the principal leaders. Sorry, we have the return of my phone. I have the principal leader. Social movement in Madrid with experience Orcasitas. We described in the first time that you understand the project and the development of this peculiar neighborhood. Please, Felix.
Sí, Orcasitas es un barrio, como otros de la periferia de las grandes ciudades como Barcelona, Bilbao, Madrid, etcétera, que se configura a partir de los años 50 de las zonas más pobres de España, de Andalucía, de Extremadura, de Castilla-La Mancha, donde había una necesidad imperiosa y nuestros padres pues huían de los pueblos en busca de trabajo y de comida pues para los hijos, y llegamos a la periferia de las grandes ciudades. Y en estas grandes ciudades ni había agua, ni había alcantarillado, ni había luces en las casas, ni en las calles. Vivíamos en condiciones absolutamente precarias, como las de hoy del tercer mundo.
Felix said that Orcasitas is a neighborhood of Madrid located in the south of the city. The south of the city is the part of the city of Madrid more with a lot of social problems. In Madrid, there is some differences between the north and the south, and the south is different neighborhood with population with low resources or few resources, economical resources. The population of Orcasitas is at about 7,000 people, and the structure of the population correspond to a pyramid where the population predominates in active non-inactive age up to 70 years, therefore aged. It's a neighborhood that include population and inhabitants from the different regions of Spain that come to the neighborhood in the 70s, from the 50s to the 70s, fundamentally to live in Madrid and work in Madrid, fundamentally in the building sector.
Bueno, la población, pues más o menos son de 7.000 personas, la mitad hombres y la mitad mujeres. Es un barrio pues envejecido, porque estos han sido barrios del que iba alcanzando otro estatus económico, procuraba marcharse de la periferia a otras zonas mejores de la capital. Aquí nos hemos quedado pues la población más mayor y la gente pues de menos capacidades para poder cambiar, ¿no?
Probably in Orcasitas is a neighborhood who come here a lot of population from other regions, but when a person in Orcasitas increase their level, economic level or cultural level, go to other neighborhoods. The unemployment rate in neighborhood of the Orcasitas is historically 5 points above the city average for both sexes. The population has mostly primary studies or non-studied in about 80% of this population. We speak about one experience interesting because we engage the social participation with the capacity to put in to develop project, environmental project with the accord of the people, with the join or the union into the project with a lot of people with the different neighbors.
Bueno, es un barrio donde siempre hemos tenido 5 puntos por encima del paro de la ciudad. El 80% tiene estudios primarios. Ellos están viendo esta misma imagen. Esto era la situación donde las madres llevaban a los hijos al hombro porque no se podía andar por las calles. O sea, el agua a nuestras casas llegó en el final de los años 60. No teníamos ni fuentes. O sea, vivíamos en condiciones infrahumanas. Es como se ha vivido en toda la periferia de las grandes ciudades de este país. A partir de los años 70, cuando nacen las asociaciones de vecinos, es cuando hay un cambio. Hay un antes y un después de la configuración de la periferia de Madrid, Barcelona, Valencia, Bilbao, con la aparición de las asociaciones de vecinos. Tenemos que recordar que el dictador murió en la cama y en el año 75. Y entonces en ese contexto se dio el asociacionismo vecinal.
Felix speak about this photograph is very important for the people of his generation because when at the end of the dictator in Spain, the Franco dictator in Spain, the social movements in Madrid wants to improve their life conditions and demands for example, water in every house. This is the situation in the 70s, and now we speak about how this neighborhood to get to pass from the third world in Madrid to the third world in Europe to a integration in the city map. This effort and this experience of the generation of Félix López Rey and the generation of this neighborhood is very important in this neighborhood. This our history is our related is a story very important for us because it's a symbol of our union. Feliz.
Sí. Bueno, construían nuestros padres las casas de noche. Pasaba como ahora cuando la gente llega de las pateras. No les reciben con aplausos, a unos les devuelven, pues así pasaba cuando salíamos de los pueblos a la periferia de las grandes ciudades. Había que construir a escondidas la chabola y si la hacías por la noche, ya por la mañana tenían como cierta consideración con lo que habíamos construido y unos se la tiraban y a otros pues nos dejaron en la chabola. Y esto era ya, esa foto ya es en los años 70, ya tenemos hormigón en las calles, porque anteriormente una ambulancia no podía venir a recogernos, se atrancaba, o había muertos, o sea, todo eso ha ocurrido. Las mujeres cuando tenían que parir, no había manera de llevarlas en un coche a los hospitales, se quedaban en el barro.
Felix speak about the difficulties of the life in the neighborhood in the 70s and the first 80s. The people, the neighbors, built his houses in the night because the policeman can to said you can not build here. It is the growing with no order in the city. The construction in the night is a symbol of the building, illegal buildings in the neighborhood is a symbol of the difficulties of the condition of the life, or the life condition for all the generation of this of my friends, because they need to improve their lives, and they decide to put they decide to apply a method very interesting in my opinion. Please, Felix.
Bueno, ante ese cúmulo de situaciones malas en las que vivíamos, se creó la asociación de vecinos. Y entonces la pancarta de amnistía era en el principio de los años 70, porque no solamente luchábamos por mejorar nuestras condiciones de vida, sino queríamos también tener libertad para podernos reunir y para poder hablar. Juntarse más de 3 personas en España ya era delito, podías ir a la cárcel.
At the end of the 70s, the neighborhood in Orcasitas founded the Neighborhood Association of Orcasitas, and it's very important for the different neighbors, because in this moment they decide to have a union against no liberty, against the low quality life conditions, and they decide to improve their life conditions and to fight for the liberty and democracy in Spain. It's very important in the story of Madrid, the foundation of this neighborhood association, because it's one of the first neighborhood associations who decide to have a public experience, a very public experience with a lot of people. In this neighborhood. The majority of the people is included into this neighborhood association, because it's a place that people in their lives founded in the first time sewers and resources to life, water, for example, water in the neighborhood associations. They in the first time have water, a place for meetings, a place to grow, a place to fight.
Los vecinos, para poder conseguir nuestras cosas, pues teníamos que salir a la calle. Ahí nos tenéis en la plaza del barrio, en esa diapositiva. Ahí estamos en el antiguo Ayuntamiento de Madrid, en la Plaza de la Villa. Eso era el año 84, pues con nuestras reivindicaciones. Queríamos ser Madrid, queríamos dejar de ser periferia, queríamos dejar de ser los excluidos de la ciudad, queríamos formar parte de la ciudad, y para eso había que constantemente estarnos movilizando.
Felix said that the neighborhood association and the neighbors developed different demonstration during years and years. And in this demonstration, they demand to be a part of the city. They will be to be a part of the Madrid and have the quality services and quality life like the rest of neighbors of Madrid. It's a process that have at about 10 years with the people in the city of Madrid, with a lot of demonstrations to express we need water, we need light, we need buildings, we need quality of life. Is a part very important of the story of Madrid. Yes, anterior.
Mirar, esto, lo que se ve ahí en el urbanismo mundial, hoy después de llevar 50 años participando, os puedo decir que eso yo no conozco que, bueno, esto es una asamblea de vecinos en la calle, el barrio, todo lo que hay se ha hecho a base de participar la gente. Nosotros, yo fui presidente de la asociación, se fundó en mi chabola en el año 70, en octubre del 70, los 10 primeros años de historia de la asociación de vecinos, todos los miércoles del año había asamblea, con una media de 200 vecinos, siempre asamblea. O sea, todas las decisiones que se han tomado en este barrio, hasta el nombre de las calles, lo han impuesto los vecinos. Y eso, bueno, ha generado una comunicación entre los profesionales y los vecinos, donde hoy existe, bueno, pues una amistad. Hasta el nombre de las calles fue impuesto al ayuntamiento por los vecinos. La calle de la participación, la calle de la solidaridad, la plaza del movimiento ciudadano, la plaza de las asambleas, etc.
Felix speak that this is an in the photograph you see an assembly. Assembly is a very important factor, a very principal factor in the development of the social movement in Orcasitas. The neighbors decide all together about the neighbors. For example, the quality of the materials of the new buildings. For example, the name of the street we have in Orcasitas, the Participation Street, the Solidarity Street, all the names of the street was decided by the neighbors. All the materials of our neighbors, of the buildings, was decided by the neighbors. The color of the buildings was decided for the neighbors in assembly. It was a very interesting experience because all together decide what it was the concept of the neighbors. And when you walk in by Orcasitas, you see different constructions, different buildings, different streets, but all was decided by the neighbors.
Sorry for interrupting, Eloy, but we had to finish. So if you can speak 4 minutes more, and we start with the time for the answer for the questions. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Eso que tenéis ahí no se ha hecho nunca en el urbanismo mundial. Como los vecinos no entendíamos de planos, obligamos a los arquitectos a que se prepararan unas maquetas a tamaño natural. Tenían 1 metro de alto y nosotros mismos pusimos los ladrillos para que la gente viese cómo iban a ser las futuras viviendas. Y se votó mediante elección qué tipo de vivienda nos gustaba. Eso no se ha hecho en ninguna parte del mundo.
Felix speak about where the neighbors decide about future living house, and they saw their living house in this photograph. You can see like the people don't understand the plans and need real plans to see what about their neighbors. This is the process of the construction and of the neighborhood, and this is one of the keys of the neighborhood development. Yes, is the assembly. The assembly is the real place to take decisions altogether. For example, say that
sí, nos premiaron en las Naciones Unidas en el 2008 como buenas prácticas de participación ciudadana. Esto no es una historia que ocurrió hace 50 años. Comenzó hace 50 años, pero seguimos haciéndolo.
We have a tradition in the citizen participation, and we have well good practice in the citizen participation by the United Nations in 2008. We said that more than 1,000 neighbors signed the first civic pact promoted by social entities, expressing a commitment of citizens to sustainability. This is a project very interesting because, please.
Mirad, eso que tenéis delante, tenemos un barrio de pobres con calefacción de ricos. Es el único barrio de Madrid pobre con calefacción de ricos. Según los ecologistas, ahorramos a la atmósfera 1.450 toneladas de CO2 que no arrojamos. Ahí lo tenéis. Pero es algo que lo sostenemos nosotros mismos. Un barrio de gente sencilla, de gente con escasa cultura, somos el barrio de la participación. Ahí lo tenéis, el sistema de calefacción, donde constantemente, lo que pasa es que estas historias parece ser que no interesan. Da más dinero el que la gente lo tenga de forma individual. Entonces nadie potencia el que esto se conozca. Pero es una experiencia interesantísima.
This is a very interesting experience in Madrid because we have the neighborhood heating. We enjoy heat in winter with low price, with quality, and with low emissions of CO2 because we have a very interesting environmental project. Now we finish with some conclusions about our experience. This is a photograph from the Orcasitas Now. It's one of the neighborhood more poor in Madrid, but we get quality of life, really quality of life. We have good calefacción, good heating, quality places, and what the conclusions? Las conclusiones.
Sí, bueno, pues que hay un orgullo de barrio, la gente siente el barrio como algo propio, le vemos muchas deficiencias, le vemos problemas, pero es nuestro barrio, lo hemos hecho nosotros, con lo cual, pues ese sentimiento de barrio, esa unidad que existe y la credibilidad que la asociación de vecinos tiene en los vecinos, porque han participado desde los abuelos a los nietos en la construcción de su barrio. Y bueno, y luego, bueno, pues ha habido un aprendizaje en esas asambleas. Y por último, estamos en estos momentos en una batalla de que aquí nos colaron el asbesto. Tenemos el amianto encima de nuestras cabezas, cuando lleva prohibido en Europa ya años, pues en las zonas pobres de las grandes ciudades todavía teníamos eso. Y en estos momentos se va a empezar a quitarnos ese problema desde nuestras cabezas.
Our principal key learning for example, the power of the identity that is similar to the sociologist Manuel Castells, the power of the identity. People in the Orcasitas neighborhood said have pride from to live in one of the neighborhood with more participative culture. Other case is a foundational fact. The participatory remodeling of the neighborhood is an example of social public cooperation. The social public cooperation between the public administration and the neighbors now have another chapter because we need to leave the to remove the asbestos from our roof, and we need the cooperation between enterprises, between the council, between the neighbors, in a new project to liberate the neighborhood of asbestos. And finally, I say that in a cohesive neighborhood with participatory tradition and identity, it is possible to launch a project for an environmental sustainability successfully because the project started by the neighborhood are lived and shared way by all the neighborhood. I think that it's very important that in our experience, the join the participation of the neighbors with the to get project for the neighbor, and the authorities and the council and the public administration is very proactive in speak with the neighbors of Orcasitas, because they know that if we start a project, we end with successful the project. Thank you. Sorry for the difficulties to translate to Spanish into English, and I hope that you see our experience. Thank you.
Gracias.
Wow. Honestly, Bonifacio and Eloy, congratulations for everything that you have achieved during so many years. It's incredible how you boost the associative movement in Madrid, how you have collaborated with so many stakeholders. Wow, it has been a very moving presentation, I consider. So thank you for sharing your experience with us. It's a good example of how citizenship can be empowered and collaborate with other important social agents. I can see the faces of Veronica, Fernando, and Elena, and I think that they have the same opinion as me. So thank you very much. Very, very interesting. So we are, sorry, I don't know if you would like to mention something, the rest of the speakers, or because, okay. We are running out of time, sorry, but I prefer to give you the time that you need it. So it's time for the questions of attendees. I'm going to open the panel for the questions. So if you would like to comment something or ask to the speakers directly. You had to write your questions in the chat. So at the moment, I can't see any questions. So I suppose that everything is clear. Anyway, we are going to be at your disposal if you want to write us. We will send the email with the presentations and the video of the webinar. And of course, you can follow us in the Red Pill Project social media channels. Also, you can go to the redpillproject.eu if you want to follow the news about the project, the last news. So thank you very much, especially to the speakers, to the panelists. For me, it has been very rewarding, and I suppose that also for the attendees. So we will keep in touch. So have a nice day.
Thank you.
And also thank you to the European Commission for hosting this webinar in the frame of the European Sustainable Energy Week. So thank you very much. Have a very nice start of the week. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.